Welcome, guys. This is Fountain Records, the newest record store in Salt Lake City. I guess you could call it a collective. We have our own, inventory and business, but also we invite our DJ friends and record collectors to consign records here as well. So it's a bit of a joint effort. A lot of the people involved have, long ties to the music scene, the radio scene, record scene here in Utah. So it's our own little corner of the city to have fun with music.
All right, well, let's walk on in and check it out.
So we have a little bit of a coffee bar on some days, and we have the Fountain inventory up here. And then as you walk in, we have different vendors all down this wall. And this is some of our favorite stuff in the shop that we throw up on the wall to kind of articulate our taste, I think.
Take us, and if we could start down here and just go through and kind of talk about the different vendors, say their names, maybe just a little something about each of them, if you can.
So starting off on the end of here is my pals, the Caviar Club, and that's our local little group of friends here who's been doing DJ and record nights forever, over a decade or more. And so we have Chase 1-2 and James Beard sharing a booth. Next to that is my friend Soul Paz, Joel, and he goes by the Rhythm Explosion. Soul rock and jazz, disco, hip hop, that's kind of that whole thing. Then as we move down, we have our friends, the sound department. They're doing funk, soul, jazz, hip hop, all the good, tasteful stuff that we love. Okay, next to that we have our friend across the street and neighbor and Utah. We'll call him our spiritual guide, Ken Sanders. They moved in across the street in the Leonardo, and Ken is an active and I'll say a hoarding level record collector, and he's blessing us with some really cool eclectic records. A lot of beautiful indigenous records, jazz, folk, and blues. Next is these guys called KRCL Radio. They have the smallest section in the store right now, and there is some good stuff, but we would love to see more from them. Next to that, the Strawberry, my friend Travis, DJ TK Disco or Disco TK. He is a legendary DJ amongst the, let's say, electronic and dance world. Next, we have our buddy Rand, who goes by Spotty Dog. Rand is a vintage guy in town. He blesses us with tons and tons of great records. Next to that, our friend from Ogden coming down every week with fantastic records, Jackson. He goes by Club Paradise Crates, and he's one of the most avid deep collectors in town. Next is a section from our pals in Provo, representing down there. That's 3 Hive Records. They have a phenomenal shop in Provo. I guess from there we'll go over to the corner. Peasantries and Pleasantries. He had a beautiful brick and mortar during the pandemic, and then now he's just kind of putting stuff in the shop until further ventures happen. But we're so happy to have him, and he's bringing in his highly curated, eclectic, a bit left field approach. And then we have the Fountain stuff, which is we're kind of covering every base, and that's going to be kind of the meat for the store. The meat and potatoes is our used rock, pop, soul stuff, and then we're bringing in really interesting global records like global jazz, funk, Afrobeat, dance music. We want that to be our, let's say, our specialty.
So obviously, y'all are a record store, but you really focus on community events as well. So I was wondering, could we walk downstairs and you could tell us a little bit about that approach and why you do that?
Well, so this is our basement. We call it the CairoCon Lounge. It's our we'll call it our Jazz Kisa Cafe listening room and performance space. This is kind of we have these beautiful hi-fi speakers setups. We have all kinds of instruments. We have an old organ, Lowry organ, a Fender Rhodes, a Deegan vibraphone. We have a stand-up bass, drums, percussion, everything that we need to get into weird musical territory.
So will you tell me a little more just why you decided to not just do a record shop, but also this idea of having events for the community? Like what was the idea, the motivation behind that?
Well, it's something I was already doing and my friends are already doing, and we were just looking for more spaces to continue the culture for music here in Salt Lake. Like, that's what we want to be doing, and there wasn't places doing what we want to be doing, so we have to create it our own. That's always been our mentality here. If we're going to live in Salt Lake, let's make it as cool as we can and try to do great programming all the time. Since it's a record store, we could do an all ages style event, and it's really blossomed in this like under 21 like college kid crowd, because they actually have somewhere cool to go that feels like a cool jazz lounge, and it gets packed out down here with them, and all these kids are getting their experience out jamming with strangers and creating on the fly.
Why vinyl?
Good question. It literally makes no sense, I don't think, but it's, I don't even care about it sounds better and all that. That's great and all, but I think the culture around collecting records and discovering records and traveling and going to record stores is the best way to see a town, to see a city. I love the archaeology component to it, record digging, and then sharing it with people in a DJ set or whatever. You know, it is the longest, I say, like the most proven form of like media storage or something, like completely analog. Like, it'll outlast 35 millimeter film. Who knows what the life expectancy is on digital archival, but I think that part's cool about it, and that it's this weird analog piece of plastic that has grooves, and somehow the music is in those grooves. It still blows my mind. I think I'll forever be amazed and in awe of the technology. It's completely bottomless in the enjoyment you can keep extracting out of this hobby. The first record I ever had was Michael Jackson Thriller, and obviously that was impactful on the entire world. So that was my initial entry point, and that style of music kind of drove my whole life. And I think I wanted to be an archaeologist my entire life until I got into college, and I think that is finding its way into my life through record digging, of like being an archaeologist. I'm not on my knees with the toothbrush in the desert, but I'm in record stores and antique malls and basements digging for records and archiving them and sharing them with the world with what we discover.
So Adam, will you show us your 45s here? What do you got for us?
Well, I just grabbed some stuff that was kind of in the shop and trying to, I don't know, kind of articulate where I'm at these days. It's pretty funny where being a fan of records and music, and coming from a hip-hop background, you just get into every style of music, because people think of hip-hop as just a genre, but it's like a mindset of like you want to dig for any interesting sound and play it. And so anyways, my ears have been expanding, so right now I'm really into this late 70s yacht rock sound. It's like one of the ones that is an ongoing joke with me and my friends when we go record digging together. One of the most common records you used to see was Christopher Cross, the record, the green one with the pink flamingo on it. And if you've been record digging with me, you've probably been the victim of my oh my god, and then they look over and I'm holding the Christopher Cross record. So anyways, it was a joke record, but then somehow when I turned 40, I started listening to it, and I actually love it. It's like one of my favorite records now. Another cool record I got here is the Todd Rundgren, Hello, It's Me, 7-inch. The other side is Cold Morning Light. I think he is definitely one of the creators of that sound that we'd call yacht rock. Here's how I describe yacht rock. Yacht rock, disco-adjacent soft rock with breezy sensibilities and a chance of jazz or country, something like that. And anyways, so I really love that sound. It goes directions. The beginnings of that sound, I say, come from the end, like certain classic rock. So I have stacks of really cool, to me, interesting yacht rock records like that people and myself just looked over all the years, but I finally gave these records a chance, and I'm just like in love with the sound. So like Paul Davis, here's a guy named David Gates, rock band Orleans, the Cosmic Crooner synthesizer guy, Gino Vanelli, who I've really become to be a huge fan of. Of course, the Yacht Lord and Captain Michael McDonald. This guy named Bobby Jones and the Outlaws. This is a country dude from Idaho, and he is a one-armed guitarist who plays with a hook. And he's so sick. I've been trying to find his albums for a while. I have one now. And then the other one I have is one of the most rare records, I believe, that I own. This is a 7-inch record from Lloyd Miller. And he made this record in 1960 or 61 in France when he was kind of a couch surfing jazz bum. And anyways, this record is called Lloyd Miller as a Trio, meaning he's playing every part himself. He went on to make a record called Oriental Jazz a few years later, and a couple of these songs are on that LP, these actual recordings. And they only exist on, I think there's only like a handful of these little 7-inch records. And he sold me one from his personal collection, and he has one more, and I think that's all that exists. There's a version of Autumn Leaves, the jazz standard, and we use that on our latest record that Lloyd put out on Fountain called Orientations, which is an archival of unreleased records, and we put that on our record.
Would you mind putting it on for us?
Sure.
Cool.
So here's the Autumn Leaves.
Will you tell me just really quickly why Fountain for the label on the store? Where does that word? Why did you choose that word for the name?
Well, it's kind of a long thing, but I'll just say, to be corny about it, fountains have always been like the gathering place. Whether that's in most cities have like a big fountain in the middle. If you go to Italy or anywhere across the world, even into the animal kingdoms, like, very Lion King, everyone's gathering around the water fountain, basically. But then one day I realized that like in the city, there's always a great water fountain, or at a college, and I grew up skateboarding, and I realized I'm always hanging at water fountains because it's like they're really architecturally pleasing for skateboarding. So I'm like, I'm hanging out always at water fountains. We always believe in like having culture in Salt Lake, and record stores are part of the culture. So that's what we hope sustains, is people wanting to bring cool records in here. So
Nice.